Michael Grubb Evolve Ministry. This particular video is the first lesson, and this lesson is about anger. Now, we are in the section called meditation. So, here's some things I want you to think about when it comes to anger. Number one, anytime that you are angry, you gotta understand that there's certain physical things that are going on in your body and your mind that need to be addressed. You're going to be learning a lot of this in the anatomy course, which will be coming soon. The anatomy course is going to itemize and show you how every single thing is linked to every other thing. So, when you're angry, this is a for instance, your blood pressure is going to begin to rise. Now, this is unhealthy for the body for many reasons. Once your blood pressure begins to rise, okay, it starts to reduce the amount of oxygen that gets to your brain. Another thing that it does is it causes your heart to beat much faster and work a lot harder. And it's pumping a lot of blood. Sometimes adrenaline starts to get mixed in there, being released from your adrenal glands. Hormones such as cortisol can be released, and this is a stress hormone. And what that does is it starts to inject a lot of negativity into your system. And the same thing with adrenaline. A lot of times when we get angry, we're also releasing adrenaline, and adrenaline in of itself is also a stress hormone. And so once these stress hormones get released into your system, again, it causes your heart to beat much faster. It's causing all sorts of stress on your system, on your body, on your mind, and it's causing your brain to work harder. So what you want to do is you want to start to get those things under control. You want to start to bring those things down. This way, you're not having a hormone being secreted into your system that is geared towards basically heightened activity that is also dedicated towards survival or fight and flight. You want to stay as far away from fight and flight as humanly possible because, again, that creates all sorts of harmful stress and effects upon your system, completely negative. Oftentimes when a person gets angry, you can look this up, it's nothing new, but you start to see red. Red in of itself, as we have talked about before, is one of the lowest vibrating colors that there is in the color spectrum, in the visible spectrum. So with all these things in mind, you gotta understand you're gearing yourself towards basically discord, anger, and chaos. Now, I have several methods that I use to bring down negativity or stress. One of those things, of course, is deep breathing. This is nothing new, but watch. Simple. Before you even go into the meditative state, now notice when I started the breathing, what I said before, notice the input in your environment. Merely by starting the breathing, you watch a different change in how this operated. This is an input that went into the system, and the system either accepts or denies it. But every single thought has an effect. So, if you are thinking negatively, if you have anger in your system, it's being registered by the system. It's going out there, especially if you're angry at other people, well then you're directing that. Those are negative thoughts, hate, and energy being directed at this person and surrounded. So everything is registered. As you saw, just by my breathing, we had a system that picked it up, registered it, and then it enacted right in front of you. So you want to immediately start to bring down those stress levels. I like to do my breathing at intervals. So right there you can see I was doing it in a pattern. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, breathing constantly. Now you see how this is calmed down right here? As I was breathing, it was going at a steady pace. It was not going erratically, but steady. Now, by breathing and getting myself at those intervals, your heart begins to slow down that erratic beating, the pumping of all that negativity, the pumping of all of the adrenaline that's going through your system. Everything starts to now get down to palatable levels to where it's manageable. Now, another thing that I like to do, I start to close my eyes and visualize peaceful things. The more I start to visualize peaceful things, the more I am breathing at palatable intervals, the more that I am concentrating and focusing, taking my energy and taking my thoughts off that which angered me and putting it on something which is calming, which is relaxing. Another thing to do is put on very easy listening music. Some people can actually listen to stuff like metal and stuff that's chaotic and be relieved. But me personally, I like to listen to, the sounds of the ocean, the sounds of nature. Sometimes I will listen to really nice, laid-back, easy listening music. Sometimes it's like electronica sort of music. But all of these things are dedicated towards bringing down my negativity. So this way I'm not focusing, I'm not honing in on all the things that are making me upset or making me fearful or aggressive. Aggression is not going to do anything for you other than, again, like I said before, raise your blood pressure, and basically you surround yourself with all of that fear, with all of that anger, and what it does is it just starts to corrode you from the inside out. And yes, if you're directing it towards others, you could also be bringing harm upon them. As self-mastery practitioners, we have a responsibility, a strong responsibility to control ourselves, to control our emotions. Why? Because if you are always a slave to your emotions and you're always in a state of reaction, then you are no good as a problem solver. If you're always reactive instead of proactive, eventually that puts you in situations where you can get yourself arrested. You can lose the respect of people around you, your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, your own family. And so it is very important, and I mean extremely important, to really return yourself to a point of logic. And that way, your emotions aren't the ones dictating your actions. You want your mind to be the very thing that dictates the way you interact within the environment, society, or the world. Now, we went through the breathing techniques there. We went through the visualization. Again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring down the level of aggression that is interacting with the physiology of your body. All that physical stuff does equate to corrosion, degradation. Now, another thing that I like to do when I'm in situations where I'm extremely angry, I think of my loved ones. I think of beautiful times that I've spent with people, whether it be friends, again, neighbors, relatives, or I think of pets that I had, pets that I loved, that I spent beautiful time with, and things that they did to help enhance my life. So what I'm doing is I'm thinking of all of the positive, wonderful things that have occurred, and I also think about how fortunate I am. Because no matter how bad you think your situation is, there is someone in this world who has it way worse than you. And a lot of people who have it way worse deal with it differently. For instance, I will say this. My brother, he was handicapped from the waist down. Now, this is an inspiration to me. And when I think about how strong he was, okay? Handicapped from the waist down. And so basically he had so many limitations put on him, but he made his life about overcoming those limitations, and he did not complain. He did not complain about the fact that he couldn't walk. He did not complain about the fact that things were harder to access. Instead of complaining about it, he concocted and created ways to overcome all of these limitations. So keep that in mind. No matter how bad off you are, there is someone who is in a worse position. So by getting yourself into the meditative state, and again, this is all about your intention. You're trying to calm yourself. That is what the main intention is when you are meditating in order to defeat anger. You're trying to calm yourself. You're trying to ensure that these stress hormones are not being released into your system so that your body doesn't stagnate. Because if your body begins to stagnate like that, your connection suffers. There's some people that say, oh, well, I do much better when I get angry. I'll be honest, I've done this for a very long time, and I've worked with many practitioners, and I have yet to see someone who is extremely angry connect in properly. Their effects and their ability to connect in would get worse and worse and worse the angrier they would get, despite the fact that they would say, no, the angrier I get, the more my connection increases. I've never seen it. And given that I've done this for a long time and have practiced with several different types of practitioners of several different types of religions and affiliations, again, like I said, I have yet to ever see anyone accomplish anything amazing while they were frustrated, while they were negative or fearful. I mean, this is across the board. Whether it be drumming, sports, the more you get frazzled, the angrier that you become, the more the chances are likely that you're going to fail. Recently, we watched an MMA match, Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. The more frustrated Ronda Rousey got during that setup, the more her ability to fight against Holly Holm suffered, and then she was eventually, within the second round, knocked out. If you fight angry, you lose. If you play angry, you lose, no matter what it is. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to somehow use anger in order to accent your connection, it won't. So this is why meditation serves a very practical purpose when it comes to intentions. So we talked about meditation, we've talked about breathing and creating intervals. You have to first figure out what intervals are right for you, because what may work for me may not work for you at all. So that's all dependent as well upon how athletic you are, how good in shape. Some people might be able to have 2-second breathing intervals versus 4 seconds versus 10 seconds versus 20 seconds. So it depends on exactly what your body type is and what kind of physical shape that you are currently in. So deep breaths, relaxing breaths, visualization, thought processes, being able to connect into love, thinking of things that help your mind and your soul connect into peace, into happiness, and into love. Those are going to be your best keys in order when you meditate for the purposes of bringing down negativity or fear. And we will have a separate one regarding meditation for fear, because fear also entails a few other things that, that anger does not. Fear can have many different results. So this is the reason why we're doing specific types of meditative techniques for all these specific emotions or situations. Now, another thing that you want to do is you want to think, and you need to dissect it. What is it that brought all of this anger within me in the first place? By dissecting this, later on in the future, you'll be able to recognize that trigger, so when it pops up, you can immediately begin to address it. And instead of becoming completely angry or aggressive right off the bat, you mitigate it before it gets to that point. Why feel that emotion? You already know what anger feels like. We all do. If you're a human being, you've been there already. So, if you can mitigate that emotion before it starts, that makes you more logical right off the bat, and your ability to observe and understand your surroundings is much more sharp and much more keen. But the minute that you succumb to that emotion of negativity, that emotion of anger, you begin to narrow your focus. You start to lose sight of everything that's happening around you, and then you may be missing very key details in your environment. So, you've got a few techniques there. Now, the other thing is you might, depending on your level of aggression at that point, you may have to decide sitting down may not do the trick. I may have to actually lay down and allow my body to completely relax. And so what you're going to have to do is muscle by muscle, you begin to think, okay, I need to relax. I need to allow myself to let go of the tension that is within my system. Then you begin to talk to yourselves. You actually say, let go of this negativity, let go of the aggression. I want my muscles to completely relax and take out all of the tension that is causing the cramping. Because, of course, anytime that you become angry, your whole body starts to become tense. You want to begin to release that. And you're literally telling yourselves, I need to release this negativity. I need to release the aggression and let it go back out. So, laying down is another key thing that I often do. You may be in a situation where you're at work or you're in social settings, so maybe laying down is not the best option. But a very good thing to do is make sure you separate yourself from your environment as much as you can, the environment of which started that negative signal in the first place. Remember, these are all signals, as we talked about before. Your emotion is a signal that lets you know that you are in a tense situation. So, by doing these things, again, you begin to peg what's occurring, why it's occurring, why it's having this effect upon you, and then you begin the process of release. Now, when you are meditating for the purposes of releasing anger, you're not going to be able to get much further than that. You're not going to go into transcendental states. You're not going to be to the point where you're having out-of-body experiences. You're serving one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to release the negativity, to release the thing that is causing you stagnation at that particular moment. So it's probably best not to try to go into complete altered states when you are trying to mitigate anger. The angrier you are, it's pretty much unlikely that you're going to be able to have some sort of a out-of-body experience. To be quite honest, I've never had a situation where I was angry that I was able to really tap correctly into anything. So, let that be the first thing, that when you are doing it in terms of anger, all you're trying to do at that point is to get yourself back to where you're thinking logically, where you're not so self-absorbed, and when you're not thinking thoughts that may be detrimental to yourself or to others. So, we've gone through this a couple of times, but one last time. Breathing intervals, deep breaths, helps bring down your heart rate, helps to bring down your blood pressure. Visualization of positivity, thinking of love, thinking of family members, thinking of pets, anything that it takes in order to get your mind in a nice, calm state. Think of yourself by the ocean. Think of yourself in nature. Or maybe if you're lucky enough, you're at a place where you can walk outside and actually go to nature and just release, calm yourself, and connect in. And as you can see, it's really that easy. All I had to do was think about it, and then open my arms, and then we're in that situation again where I've actually connected into the environment. You can actually see that it registered within the environment. Okay, as you can see, this isn't necessarily a windy day. at all. But my input can create effects. Now, if I was angry right now, of course, I would be putting all sorts of effects into the environment, but they wouldn't be necessarily positive to where I'm affecting anything on any sort of a dramatic level. What anger does most is that it affects the person who is angry. It's an inward magnetic to where basically all of your aggression, anger, and pain is sucking in and is just doing its work on the insides of you, as opposed to the environment, although the environment is still registering it. So make no mistake, the environment is registering what's going on with you, but you see, the environment itself may not want to feel your aggression. So it will shut itself down so that you can't affect it. And this is the reason why I tell you that a lot of people out there, when they think that they're actually affecting the environment and when they get angry, well, you're definitely sending the signal out there, but again, you're in a thinking organism. It has the right and the value to shut you down whenever it chooses. And anytime that I have seen someone go into egoic or negative properties, I always have watched the environment shut them down. I've even got examples of it on YouTube. You know, where a couple of my students, they went completely crazy. They were very angry about a situation. They couldn't connect in, and you can clearly see the person who is angry is getting no results, to the point where he just starts punching the ground because he's so angry. And then you see a student that's pretty much next to him, a little bit further down the way, he's connected in, and the flow is marvelous. He's doing all sorts of wonderful things with it, okay? So keep this in mind, is that the system itself, the more egoic you are, the chances are it's not going to accept your inputs. It can cancel you out at any time, and the only person that you're affecting or harming would be yourself. Michael Grubb, Evolve Ministry.